Listen to me. Your life is too valuable to let it be poisoned by the wrong people. Your time is your currency, your energy is your power, and your circle, that's your fortress. Not everyone deserves access to it. Not everyone should sit at your table. You see, toxic people don't come with warning labels. They disguise themselves as friends, partners, even family. But their behavior exposes them every single time. Today I'm going to be brutally honest with you, because this is about protecting your peace, your purpose, and your power. It's time to cut the 5 toxic types out of your special life. The energy vampire is one of the most dangerous people to keep close, because they don't just waste your time, they drain your power. They walk into your life like they need a little help, but what they're really doing is feeding on your emotional strength. They thrive on chaos, they unload their problems on you daily, and every conversation feels like lifting a weight that's not yours to carry. You start the day focused and strong, and after 10 minutes with them you're mentally exhausted, emotionally heavy, and spiritually dimmed. Here's the truth, your energy is currency, and if you keep giving it to people who never pour anything back, you will end up broke, not financially but emotionally. These people don't want solutions, they want attention, they don't want to grow, they want to keep you stuck in their storm so they don't have to face it alone. They'll disguise it as friendship. They'll say you're the only one who understands me, but if you look closely you'll see a pattern. They're always taking, rarely listening, and never showing up when you need support. That's not a healthy bond, that's emotional vampirism. And here's the hard part. If you don't set boundaries they'll keep coming, because energy vampires don't stop on their own, you have to close the door. Your energy fuels your goals, your peace, your clarity. So guard it like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. You're not cold for protecting your energy, you're wise. And once you stop letting them feed on your light, you'll see just how bright you can truly shine. 2. The manipulator is not always loud. In fact, the most dangerous ones are often subtle, calm, composed, calculated. They don't attack you head-on, they rearrange the truth until you can't tell which way is up anymore. They know exactly what strings to pull. They study your emotions, your weaknesses, your sense of loyalty, and then they use those against you. One moment you're confident in your decision, the next you're questioning your instincts, apologizing for things you didn't do, or carrying guilt that doesn't belong to you. Their weapon isn't force, it's control. They twist conversations, so you feel like the problem. They rewrite history to make their actions seem justified. And when you finally try to hold them accountable, they flip the script. Suddenly they're the victim, and you're the one who overreacted. Here's the truth. Manipulators don't need power, they borrow yours. Every time you bend your boundaries to keep the peace, they grow stronger. Every time you let a lie slide, they take another inch. And before you know it, you're walking on eggshells in a life that used to feel like yours. But there comes a moment when you have to stop dancing to their tune. Recognize the pattern: confusion after every conversation, guilt for no reason, a constant feeling of being emotionally cornered. That's not love, that's strategy. The moment you see through the manipulation is the moment you reclaim your power. Set boundaries, they can't twist. Hold your truth, like armor, because manipulators can only control those who doubt themselves. Once you stand firm, their power crumbles. You owe it to yourself to trust your instincts more than their tactics. 3. The fake supporter is one of the trickiest toxic types to spot, because they wear the mask of loyalty. They stand next to you, they smile when you win, but it's not pride shining in their eyes, it's discomfort. These are the people who clap for you publicly, but compete with you privately. They'll act like they're cheering you on, but their words are lukewarm, their energy is off, and their compliments come with a sting. I'm so happy for you, they say, but their tone tells another story. They're the ones who grow quiet when your name starts to shine, who stop showing up when your growth outpaces their comfort, who downplay your achievements to keep themselves feeling relevant. They pretend to celebrate you, but deep down they hope you don't rise too high, because your success forces them to face their own stagnation. Here's the truth. Not everyone in your circle wants to see you win. Some just want to be close enough to your light to benefit from it, without ever genuinely supporting your climb. And if you're not careful, you'll mistake their presence for loyalty and their politeness for support. Real supporters don't get threatened when you grow, they push you higher, they speak your name with pride when you're not around, they don't shrink the room to feel tall, they help build a bigger space for both of you. The fake supporter doesn't need confrontation, they need distance. Stop watering fake loyalty, watch who claps when you win, pay attention to who disappears when things go right. That silence tells you everything. You deserve people who cheer without envy, who celebrate without competition. Protect your circle, protect your peace. 4. The boundary breaker is the person who refuses to respect the lines you draw. They treat your personal limits like suggestions, not standards. They push, they test, they trespass. And the more you allow it, the more they take. They're the ones who don't hear no. They dismiss your needs as too much, your limits as unnecessary, and your boundaries as walls. They make you feel guilty for standing your ground, and slowly, they train you to shrink yourself just to keep the peace. Here's the truth. A boundary is not a request, it's a declaration. It's you saying, this is where I end, and you begin. But the boundary breaker doesn't want to meet you halfway. They want control. They'll show up uninvited, they'll pry into things that aren't theirs. They'll ignore your words, overstep your space, and then act offended when you call it out. And if you're not careful, they'll make you believe that enforcing your boundaries is the problem. It's not. The problem is their inability to respect them. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're protective. They guard your time, your energy, your mental peace. Anyone who truly values you will honor them, not break them. When you tell a boundary breaker no, and they keep pushing, that's not love, that's entitlement. And the only way to stop it is to stand firm. Repeating yourself isn't weakness. Drawing the line again isn't rude, it's strength. The moment you stop apologizing for having boundaries, you reclaim your power. Remember, people who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always call you difficult the moment you set them. Don't back down. Protect your space like your future depends on it, because it does. 5. The chronic victim is the person who refuses to take responsibility for their life. To them, everything is someone else's fault. Every setback, every mistake, every failure, it's always because of what someone did to them. They live in a cycle of blame, and they expect you to be the audience to their endless tragedy. At first, you feel compassion. You listen, you try to help, you offer solutions, guidance, support. But here's where it gets dangerous. They don't want solutions. They want sympathy. They want validation for staying stuck. And every time you rescue them, you become part of their script. They wear pain like a badge, using it to deflect accountability. If something goes wrong, it's unfair. If they hurt someone, it's because of what they went through. There's always an excuse, never ownership. Here's the truth. You cannot carry someone who refuses to walk. You can hand them tools, but you can't build their life for them. Chronic victims drain your emotional energy because their stories are never about growth, only about repeating the wound. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself constantly trying to fix someone who has no intention of changing. They will keep you stuck in endless emotional loops. They'll make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. And when you finally step back, they'll label you cold or uncaring. But remember, protecting yourself isn't cruelty, it's clarity. Real strength is knowing when to stop pouring into a bottomless cup. You are not responsible for healing someone who refuses to pick up the pieces themselves. Compassion has limits. Stop letting someone's refusal to rise pull you down. Their story is not your burden. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step away.